Welcome to the Nightcast, where we go a little bit deeper concerning Providence Academy specifically, but also Christian education as a whole. Today, we're going to be going in a little bit deeper with some families who have some experience with homeschool. Right now, in America, more people than ever are questioning, is the school that my kid's zoned for, just because of our zip code or area code, is that actually the best opportunity for education for my child? And people are thinking about that critically, sometimes for the first time ever. And so today we're going to talk to some people that had that thought, and some of them chose homeschool and then eventually ended up at Providence Academy. So we're going to talk to them about their experience. But one thing's for sure is that each kid's different. Each scenario is different. Each season of life is different. And so having those open options and having an honest conversation of like, hey, is this the right fit for you? All right, so let's hop right in. All right, welcome to the Nightcast. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the transition from homeschool to Providence, how that went. So we're going to talk to a few different families. But first up, we have Lynette Reese, who has a mother of 9.
Yes.
Mother of 9. And they slowly made the transition from homeschool over to Providence with some of their children. Just kind of wanted you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about being a mother of 9. And then we'll kind of get into it.
Yeah, I'm Lynette Reese, and yes, a mother of 9. And our oldest is 28, and our youngest is 14. And yeah, we homeschooled. All of my older kids were homeschooled. And yeah, we thought the twins, I just felt like they needed a little more. And so we thought, the opportunity, someone approached us with the possibility of the opportunity for them to attend Providence. So we,
So what was the main, like, I know they're basketball players, I know they're really smart, so what was kind of the first thing that was the hook for you guys to have you consider?
Well, Tim Sprouse approached my husband, James, and just was talking to him about it, possibly them going to PA and just wanting, I think, you were looking for things to change and more diversity. That was important, to us. And so he kind of started the ball rolling, just kind of putting, just wanted us to think about it. And then they played basketball for Damon, for Kachia, and he coached. And so once Damon, took over coaching at PA, and we started talking about it. And so I was like, I want my boys to stay with Damon for sure, as a coach, because he's a great coach. And so that's kind of how everything kind of started.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your experience, those first couple of years.
Just amazing. I mean, they were great. Like the twins, I wanted them going. They needed discipline. I felt like they wasn't getting enough at home. And so I felt like they needed more. And I felt like they needed to get out of their comfort zone, and they needed to stretch. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like there was more. I felt like it would just be more of an opportunity for them, more to come out that they didn't know was there, inside of them. And so, I thought discipline and structure for them, and so that's why we made that decision. That was the main reason we made the decision.
Yeah. So those fears that you may have had, maybe you heard some things where people had some bad experience. What were some of those fears that you brought into that situation?
Well, the academics, and that it was just academics, and you had to have a high ACT score and homework, all the homework, and just kind of snooty, not nice people, and just really stuck up people, and so, and like culturally, that was a concern,
Absolutely.
And so,
So what was did you find those were confirmed, or was it a little bit different? Or
it was 100% different. It was 100% different. Yes. Now I will say, like in the beginning, like that first, until the twins got the homework, it was a lot for them, just transitioning and getting used to even having homework.
Right. Yeah. I guess when you're at homeschool, there's no homework.
There's no homework.
Right.
And so, just getting used to that. And I think that was the hardest thing for them.
Yeah.
Nehemiah, I have to say, I think because the twins, them being older, it was easier for them, the transition, than Nehemiah. And Nehemiah, like I said, being the youngest of 9,
right.
It was a little difficult. It was more difficult for him. But getting to Nehemiah, just the teachers and Mrs. Chambers and the help was overwhelming, just amazing. How they reached out to me and through email, just wanting to help him because he struggled in a couple of subjects.
Right.
And just them reaching out to help his teachers, Mrs. Vines, and just tremendous. Yeah. I was just blown away at how they helped him. Yeah. They just went above and beyond what teachers, what you would expect. To help him.
That's awesome. That's so encouraging.
Yeah. Amazing.
So the twins, after 3 or 4 months, were they able to adjust to the load, or was it still intense, or did they kind of figure those things out?
I think they just figured everything out. They knew it had to be done, and so they just it decreased. The intensity decreased.
Yeah, they figured it out. They're smart kids. They're very smart boys.
Yeah.
All right, so if you were talking to a family, what would be some important things that you would want to tell them about your experience transitioning into Providence?
Well, I would tell them to, for one, you have to pray and just seek the Lord for each, because every child is different.
Yeah.
Definitely think that tour the school, if you really feel strong that it is for you to do, I think just give it a chance, give it a try and see, and, give it a year at least, because I started to pull Nehemiah out, and cause I thought he's just not going to be able to do it, and, but I'm glad I didn't, because he needs to be stretched also, and he needs to learn the structure, have that structure and discipline also.
Yeah,
so,
he's really come along. It's been fun to watch him kind of grow.
Yeah.
Of course, he's always going to be him. He's a social butterfly. He's never met a stranger. I don't think I've ever seen him frown.
Well, and that's a thing. Nehemiah, how being at PA has brought that out. Really brought his personality out, because even he's like that at home, but before, going to Providence, he was acted a little timid. Surprisingly.
That is surprising. Yeah, the Nehemiah I know is the least timid person I've ever met.
So it's been cool to just, like you said, watch him grow and allow him to be himself and his personality, to come out.
So the twins, how they played I felt like every sport. Tell me a little bit about their experience in athletics and how that went for them.
Yeah, well, basketball was their sport. They used to play football for the Silverbacks.
Oh, yeah.
And they've played basketball for a long time. And so they enjoyed basketball. Soccer, they had never played. And so I was just like, wow, But
they did awesome.
Yeah, they did. And, I was like, the first year they played, I was like, I wish I had gotten you all in soccer when you were younger, when you're kids,
Yeah, they were incredible. Yeah. And then track?
Yeah, track. Yeah. They started about 3 years ago. We tried track one summer, and they did not want to run track. It was just we don't want to do track. I was like, yeah, you do. You're fast.
They're so fast. And then they came and ran this year. I think he was running the 200 and the 100 and just this really moving. It was really fun to see.
Yeah, it was
I think
fun
they
to watch.
came out for tennis a few times. It was
Yeah.
like, those boys, it was like anytime the school doors were open, they were like, yeah, we'll do whatever.
Yes, yes.
That was a lot of fun.
Yes,
So like
they're very athletic.
spiritually for them, did you see that, what they were learning in class, or did you see those transitions home?
Yeah. They, I think, they have, going through just trying to find their relationship with Jesus the way, just working that out for themselves, and seeking, and
asking really tough questions. Working through some of that tough stuff.
That tough stuff. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So, I think that kind of, that's as far as spiritually, I think they're just still there also, just still trying to, you know.
I would say Providence Academy is a place where you got to feel safe to ask those questions that you might have been afraid to ask in church, or might have been afraid to ask your parents.
Yes.
That it would be like, let's open it up.
Yeah.
We're not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
The truth is never afraid of questions.
Right.
And high schoolers have a great ability to ask some really tough questions, but to be able to struggle through that well together has been awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
And looking forward to the next few years with Nemo.
Yeah.
And watching him grow. And I was watching that team the other day, and it was like Nemo, and it was Lucas, and it was like the miniature version of the current varsity team.
Yes.
And I was like, and Ashby. Yeah. And I was like, that is going to be so fun to watch that, like 2.0.
It is, because they've been together, that's their travel team.
Yes.
And Nash. And
yes.
So,
they
have been together for a while now, for a long time. So it's pretty cool. They're all together at school.
Yeah.
And
I enjoy watching those boys, and they love each other well. And
they do.
And that's a great community piece. All right. So you've had a lot of experience homeschooling. I mean, 9 children over the course of, I don't know how many years. And then you've had some experience at Providence as well. What would you say to that family that they're currently in public school and they're like, okay, I don't know which to choose, and every kid's different.
Right.
As you said, so what are some of those factors as someone that's done both to say like, hey, these are some things that if you're looking for this for your child, homeschool might be a better route, or if you're looking at this, maybe Providence would be a better route?
Well, I think that homeschooling, you can get a very good foundation. You can spend time with your child. If they're struggling, you can spend a whole day on math, or a whole day on, you have all the subjects, but you have that time to spend. If they're struggling in division, you can work on division all day. You can, it's just, you have that time, and it's not rushed. So you just have to know what, as far as each child, and how, I think when they're younger, it is easier to homeschool.
When you start getting into like bio and like you're like, okay, we're gonna do a frog dissection today.
That middle school age.
Mom starts to get a little queasy.
I was blessed. My mom really helped me, like with my older kids and with the twins, and she was there. We had, like, we didn't meet in the home. We would rent buildings. My mom would rent a building, like a school set up.
Okay.
And my older kids, there was like 3 more families that homeschooled with us, and so we had a group that we homeschooled with, so it made it easier. And now homeschool, there's so much out there now. There's so many. There's a lot of curriculum. There's a lot of activities, field trips, and it's just bigger now. So,
so much more you can do.
Yeah. The social, because people say, what about the socialization? I mean, that's the thing you heard about, from people about homeschooling. But there's things you can do.
Right.
Meeting other families, and like I said, field trips, and even doing school together.
Yeah, making those connections.
Yeah.
So how would you contrast that to like going to a school like Providence? What would be some benefits for a student that might need something different?
That's it. Like some kids, they do need more socialization. So they want that to be around kids more. You know, I have a friend who, that's why one of her sons he goes to PA. You know, that's why they made that transition with him, because he just needed to be more around. He wanted to be around kids because he had experienced that before.
Right.
You know, so you just have to know each child, what's going to be best for them.
Yeah, each kid is different.
Yeah.
That's for sure. No one would know that better than you, having 9.
Yes. So I'm just, like I said, grateful that the twins, that we did make that transition, and that they were able to experience, you know, what it's like at PA, you know, what it's like, just make those friendships that they have that are going to last for years to come. You know?
I bet they'll be friends with some of those kids for the rest of their life.
Yes.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
All right. So before you came to PA, you heard these things, these fears that you had. So you came, and then what was that fear? And then what did the reality turn out to be?
Well, like I said, the fear is the homework. Of course, also where we live in Kingsport, the twins driving to, you know, I think in 26 every morning,
right?
Driving on 26. So that was a real fear, you know. Them
fear
driving.
of the homework, maybe fear of like some of the social aspects that you were nervous about.
Yes. I didn't, and I'm going to say this, but prejudice. You know, and because you know, that's kind of what we, even in homeschooling, I mean, there's a lot of kids that have not been around other races. And, you know, it's just like, I didn't want them to go through that, you know, at Providence also. I wanted them to experience, you know,
some connection.
Yeah.
You know, so what did you find when you
races.
actually got to Providence?
It was different. I think things have changed, you know, it wasn't, and I told the boys, like Damon and I talked, you know, I felt like the Lord was going to use them for that reason, you know, and just for kids that hadn't been around other races, you know, that, you know, it to help them. You know,
Absolutely.
Just to help other people grow in that, you know.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And get to know people from other races. Yeah. So,
That's great.
Yeah.
We enjoyed having them and enjoy having Nemo. It's been that transition, you're right. For the last few years, God's blessed us and said like, hey, I'm going to send so many different people from so many different walks of life, so many different backgrounds, races, all those things to Providence here in the last 5 years. And that has made our school so much richer. And I know that some of those families had to there was a leap of faith that had to happen there of being like, okay, we're going to be a part of something.
Right.
We're going to be a part of a change,
right?
A part of a difference. And I think that those students that took that step, those families that took that step, I think everybody came out better for that in the end.
For sure.
It was great to see. And then it paved a way. So now we have more diversity than ever because that first step, you know, once that first step, and then that next family comes through for a tour and they're like, oh, there's a lot of families that look like our family too. And they start to get more comfortable, and then everyone grows together. And I think that can be a really beautiful thing.
For sure.
All right. Welcome to our next guest, Wendy Fox. She's got 2 kids, some in 2 different situations. So tell me a little bit about your family situation and kind of how that looks unique.
Okay. I have 2 kids, Mia and Noah Fox. Mia is going in 5th grade, and Noah is going in the 3rd grade. Our situation might be a little different because we're maybe not typical homeschoolers. Mia went to school at Providence kindergarten through 2nd grade, and Noah went to Providence in kindergarten. And maybe around December of those years, it was laid on my heart to try homeschooling. My husband wasn't on board yet, but then COVID hit, and he decided, well, if you still want to do it, this would be the year. And I still wanted to, so we gave it a try. And but when we decided to homeschool, we decided, and I never thought it would be long term. I always did it with the thought that the kids would end up back at Providence. So when I chose curriculum, I tried to do exactly the same thing Providence did. I think I really just wanted more time with my kids. I wanted more time at home, and COVID definitely gave that to me.
COVID, there was a lot of things that at COVID was really tough, and then there were a lot of things that were really beautiful about it. And I think one of those things was how much time we did get to spend with our families during that time. So tell me a little bit about your experience homeschooling and how that worked for you all.
I really love homeschooling too. We didn't get involved with any outside programs. I really wanted to be at home. I wanted to have that time with our kids. So we more or less just sat at the table and went through the curriculum, and we did a lot together. We all, my son and my daughter, we all sat at the same table and did the work together. It was flexible. We might not have got up and started at 8 o'clock. It might have been 10 o'clock. And we might have still been doing schoolwork at 10 o'clock at night. So it was different every day. And that was nice too.
Yeah, that flexibility, but also that time together.
Yes.
You'll never be able to go back and get more time together. So that's a precious moment and a precious season.
Yes.
So when you came back to Providence, what were some of your motivating factors there?
Like I said, I never dreamed of homeschooling forever. So I knew I wanted to come back. Noah was able to go back last year, and they didn't have a spot for Mia. For Noah, it was different. For Noah, I wanted him, because he missed first grade, a lot of the fun things that you do in first grade. I was a little sad about that. So I was excited for him to go back in second grade and have a little bit more fun. I felt like he missed out on the fun parts of school. And then when I found out Mia couldn't go back because there wasn't a spot for her, I was sad for her at first. But then I realized, I felt like it was God's way of saying you needed another year with your daughter. And that was precious too, because she's getting older. And I'm going to miss her next year when she goes back. It's going to be harder on me than anybody.
Right.
But for her, I pray she gets in class, has good friends and keeps good friends, and just stays on the right track.
All the things and the field trips, and you're right, there's a fun element to school it's hard to replicate.
It is very hard.
Some of those things at home, just like it's hard to replicate some of the things at home at school. So there's different kids in different seasons.
Yes.
I think that's a big thing that we are a theme that we uncover is that every kid's different.
Yes.
And every season of life is different. Yeah. And so finding what's best for your kids in those moments and trusting God in that time spot. All right, so before you even started Providence, when you guys were first thinking, okay, we are looking at educating our children, what were some preconceived notions that you had about Providence?
I guess I never really thought about it a whole lot because before Mia was even born, I knew I wanted my kids to go to Providence. I did not want my kids to go to the school that we were zoned in. The other thing that I found out that I really do like is the amount of parent involvement that you can have at Providence. And I think, I didn't realize how much you could be involved. When I went to school, I rode the bus, I went to school, and then I came home. But it seems like when my kids were in school, kindergarten through second, I was at the school a lot. But I think by being at the school, it gave me the confidence to try homeschooling because I got to see what they were doing and how they were doing it. And I was so involved with trying to help them at home, and that I was able to make that leap and try to do it on my own a little bit.
Yeah. So tell me some of the things that you were able to do at the school as a mom. What were some of the ways that you plugged in?
Like in kindergarten, you have reading groups, and then you got to play games with the kids, and that was my favorite part. My favorite thing to do because I got to know each kid. I got to because we got to play games with them. They had little folder set up, and each kid had to finish this folder, and it was usually set up as a game. And then after they got to punch their card saying they finished it. But you were sitting there with them, and you got to know their personalities, and it was great because I felt like I got to know every kid in my kids' class. I also helped out in the lunchroom, and that's how I got to know some of the other parents and hear some of the stories of parents that had upperclassmen, and I got to know what was coming next. And then on field trips, I got to go on all the field trips, and I got to know the other parents. And so I just felt like it just became a big family. I felt very plugged in. And then the teachers were always very, they communicated very well to us, and we knew what was going on. We had all the information, and the whole environment just felt like a big family. And that was the part I missed when we did transition to homeschool. I missed the parents, the friends, and the administration. So I missed the Providence family.
All right. So what would you say to the family that they're in public school now?
Okay.
And they're wondering what to do. Should they homeschool their child, or should they send them to Providence? And how would you instruct them?
For the person that's in public school, since my kids have never been in public school, I think about my friends that do. And one thing I've heard from them is that they don't know the other kids in the classroom, and they don't know the parents, and it's hard for them to get a feel for what's going on. And that's not the case at Providence. I feel like at Providence, I know all the kids. I know most of the parents of all the kids. And I know what my kids are learning. And I'm very comfortable with what my kids are learning. I know that they're getting a good Christian education. I know what they're being taught.
So that with different kids at different moments and different seasons, what would be something that you think, you should really consider homeschooling if?
I don't know how to say when you would consider homeschooling. I will tell you one of the things I experienced as a homeschool mom. I noticed that I was constantly trying to get a lesson in. I was constantly, because there's always life interruptions. There's dishes that need to be washed. There's laundry that needs to be done. And there's always interruptions. And I felt like every second I had, I was plugging a lesson. And even down to what movie we're going to watch. Oh, let's watch this one because it might teach them this, or it might help them understand this a little better. That I felt like it took away some of the fun of being a parent. And I remember hearing a person say that had been homeschooled their entire life that they kind of missed that relationship with their mom of just having a mom-daughter relationship or mom-son relationship, because it seems like you're a teacher first. And I feel like, so I wouldn't want to homeschool my entire life because I want some downtime, and I want to just watch the fun movies and no thought process of teaching them anything at all.
Just enjoying your kids for who they are.
Kids. Yes. I know we would take my son to a ball game, and I would be taking a math book, and me and Mia would be sitting there working our math problems. And so I was missing my son play baseball because I wanted to make sure my daughter got her math in, So I just felt like there was no doubt. But even when your kids go to Providence, that still might be the case. We might still be doing homework.
Sure. Yeah.
But I don't want that to always be in the forefront of my mind that I got to make sure she gets this. I want to relax and enjoy my kids.
Yeah, you got a team coming alongside you to kind of help you with all the ins and outs.
Yes, and I don't know where I read this, or if I read it, if I dreamed it, or if I watched it on a video. But it's one thing that stands out that I remember, or I think of Providence, is Providence comes alongside you, that it's really ultimately our responsibility to make sure they get their education. Yeah. But you're giving us the structure and the tools to do that. And then we are involved when our kids are at Providence. We're involved to make sure they get that lesson or they understand that. And that's how we know what they're learning at school, because we are that involved.
Yeah, that partnership is critical.
It is.
So education is unique because everyone has spent a ton of time being educated. We've all went to some school or another for an extended period of time. So we're all experts in our own way. But part of that also becomes we also have our baggage that we bring with us. We have experiences, whether they were positive or negative, but we carry them in with us when we start thinking about educating our own children. We have this luggage that we bring into the room. And I would encourage you, if you're a parent right now thinking through that decision for your child and you have all your baggage that you're holding and it's heavy from your experiences in the past, to take a moment and maybe be willing to set those down for a moment and say, you know, that these experiences, they might be a little bit different for my child. And maybe Providence isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, or what I heard or what I feared or what I saw in television or movies, or my preconceived notions of private schooling and how snooty it was going to be. Maybe it might be a little bit different. I just encourage you to come check us out. Come take a look, and we may be just what God's calling you to.